Hi there, thank you so much again for joining me on this channel. As always, I'm very grateful for all your previous views, likes, subscriptions and shares. So let's grapple with the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm wearing a shirt and tie. And it does make me look like the guest at a wedding that no one wants to sit next to, particularly with the rather creepy thumbnail accompanying this video. As the theme for this video is St. Andrew, the patron saint of Scotland, I thought I'd wear my Scottish tie, and as it would look even more ridiculous just wearing a t-shirt, I had to find a proper shirt. Saint comes from the old Latin word sancere, which from Latin sanctus means holy and consecrate, and then you get to the word in French saint, where we get the word saint in English today. I then realised I need to work out what the word consecrate and holy meant. When you consecrate something, you have a ritual or a ceremony to state that something is special to God. Holy is something that is specifically dedicated to God. So, broadly speaking, a saint is a person who is dedicated to God. And in some churches in Christianity, there are certain rituals and ceremonies where specific people have been given a special status in the Christian faith. However, just to make things more interesting, of course, the word saint can have different meanings to different Christians. So, for example, the early Christians in the Bible referred to themselves sometimes as saints. Even today, between the different church denominations, there are differences. Now, a denomination is simply a type of church, and I think of it a bit like ice cream. Okay, please just bear with me on this one. Think about all the different flavours of ice cream you can get. Mint choc chip, vanilla, raspberry ripple, tutti frutti, rum and raisin and so forth. They still have the basic core ingredients of milk, cream and sugar, but all those different flavourings give a whole different variety of taste experiences. Think about all the different types of churches there are: Roman Catholic, Greek Orthodox, Baptist. At the core, they still have those basic ingredients of God and so forth. But they have different ways of expressing their Christian faith through the architecture, through the songs that they sing, through the layout of the service. The same can be said for how these different churches, denominations, approach the issue of saints. In the Roman Catholic Church, though, there's something known as canonization. This is when a person is deemed to have been such an influence on Christianity that actually they can become really revered and become a saint. As we know, it's so important to think about the language that we use when talking about religion. A scholar called John A. Coleman looked at the word saint and said that there were 5, but I've cut it down to 3 possible ways of viewing the word saint. So first of all, some kind of brilliant role model, someone who was an amazing teacher, and someone who actually performed miracles. So, sticking my neck out here a little bit, yes, it is quite tricky to define every single aspect of being a saint in every single denomination. But I think what we can pretty much say is that a saint is someone who made a significant contribution to the Christian faith and was faithful to the teachings of Jesus. Andrew was a disciple, a follower of Jesus, and he was called to follow Jesus whilst he was fishing. His brother Simon was also a fisherman. Andrew's name is Greek and it means brave. Curiously enough, Andrew is only mentioned 12 times in the Bible, and 4 of those times come because he's listed with all the other disciples. But he was part of that inner core of followers who helped support Jesus in his ministry. Interestingly enough, Andrew was a follower of John the Baptist. If you remember, John the Baptist was the cousin of Jesus who baptized Jesus himself in the River Jordan. And what makes Andrew particularly fascinating is how he was the first person recorded in the Gospels to recognize that Jesus was the Messiah. As it says here in John chapter 1, the first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah, that is the Christ," and he brought him to Jesus. One of the things that fascinates me about the Bible as a holy book is how in the Gospels the miracles of Jesus are recorded. In every single Gospel there's the miracle of the resurrection, but the only other one that's in every single Gospel is the feeding of the 5,000. Admittedly, in some it's recorded as the feeding of the 4,000. Andrew plays a big role of this in John's Gospel. Jesus had been teaching, a lot of people were there, they were very hungry, and it was actually Andrew who said, "Hey, there's a boy over there with 5 small loaves and a couple of small fish." I suppose it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. He was a fisherman, he was bound to have spotted the fish. In the Greek town of Patras, about 60 AD, Andrew's message of the gospel wasn't particularly well received by the locals, and as a result, he was sentenced to death. The tradition is that he did not deem himself worthy to die in the same way as Jesus. Therefore, he wasn't nailed, but bound to a cross, and the cross was not the T shape, but in an X shape. There are all sorts of myths about how Andrew became to be the patron saint of Scotland. One of them is in about 345, a monk called Regulus had a dream, a vision that Emperor Constantine was going to invade the town of Patras and steal Andrew's bones. So, taking some of his remains, including a kneecap and one of his teeth, he fled all the way to as far as he could possibly go, which in those days was Scotland. He was shipwrecked and in an area near Fife and found safety there. Probably more likely was in the year 597 when St. Augustus brought what was left of St. Andrew up to Scotland, and then in 732 it was brought to Fife by Bishop Acca of Hexham. Of course, if you have some holy relics, you need to put them in a nice place. In about 1138, the church that had been built by Regulus, which is wood and mud and daub and that sort of thing, was replaced with a grand cathedral, which became known as St. Andrew's Cathedral. And to tie it all in together, the surrounding town renamed itself St. Andrews as well. If you wish to see what I believe to be the bones of St. Andrew, then they are on display, or at least some of them, at St Andrew's altar in the Metropolitan Cathedral of St Mary in Edinburgh. And a fragment of his skull is also able to be viewed in Patras in Greece. And where else but of course St Andrew's Cathedral. I confess I knew nothing of the association between St Andrew and Scotland and how it came about. Turns out he's also the patron saint of Georgia, Romania, Cyprus and many other countries too. And if that wasn't enough, of course he's the patron saint of fishermen, but also fishmongers, rope makers, pregnant women, miners, singers and textile workers. I confess I knew absolutely nothing as to how St Andrew became connected with Scotland. It was a real eye-opener for me, and I do hope it was of some use to you. If you are celebrating St Andrew's Day, I do wish you a happy one. And if you are able to like, comment and subscribe, then I would humbly invite you to do so. Your support does mean a great deal. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy your learning.